What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing today? How was your day? Everything go beautifully? I sure hope so. What'd you learn today? I learned a bunch of awesome things. I don't really have life lesson to share today, but just excited. Well, I guess I do. Take joy in learning new things. I would say take joy in learning new things. Whenever I learn something new, it's great to me because it's just some additional information that I didn't originally have, and I love it, especially when it comes to technology and my job and things like that. Because anything that will oh shoot, I forgot the street was blocked off. Anything that will make my job make me more proficient in doing my job, I love. Any just new information, I like learning new things. So I'm very grateful for the training that I'm getting right now. I keep, I've said this a few times before, that this is, what I was looking for. I was looking to be more proactive and interactive and things like that. So it all worked out for me in the end. So I am very grateful that I'm learning what I'm learning. So forgive me, a little tired, but yeah. So there are a few shows that I need to catch up on. We watched the game Sunday, so my husband and I last night watched The Walking Dead. So I was glad I got a chance to check that out, and it was something. Hey everybody. Okay, that was my sister-in-law that was calling me, and y'all be praying for my baby. She has sickle cell. Both she and my grandson has sickle cell, but she's a year older than me, and she's been living with sickle cell obviously all her life, and she's in the hospital currently. So if y'all could just please pray for her, because she's having a really hard time right now, and things could definitely be better, but just ask that y'all pray for her. These cars are flying down the street. I'm trying to pull out in the traffic. So anyway, it's raining out here, and I don't think I knew that it was supposed to be raining, to be truthful, but it's all good. We're gonna be careful so we can get home in one piece. But if you all don't know about sickle cell, you can log on to Sickle Cell Foundation. I think it's sicklecellfoundation.org. I believe there's also a Sickle Cell Foundation Houston. But just do your little research and everything to learn what sickle cell is all about. It's prominent in African American individuals, but I don't know for a fact that it only exists in African American individuals, and that would be anyone who has a biological has African American blood in their bloodline. I have my granddaughter's mother, who is Hispanic. She's Mexican, tried to tell me that my granddaughter could not have sickle cell because she's Mexican, and I explained to her that that's not correct, and she refused to get her tested before she left the hospital for sickle cell. She did not get her tested when she had her follow-up after she came home, and I believe it was I want to say it was in the first month of my granddaughter's life that she finally listened to me and got her tested. And while she does not have sickle cell disease, she does carry the trait. And I explained to her that's exactly why she needed to be tested, because I have two aunts on my mother's side who passed away from sickle cell anemia, the actual disease. My sister-in-law, as I stated before, which is a blood relative of my husband, and my my grandkids, that's their grandfather and their aunt, their great aunt, as a matter of fact, has sickle cell. Well, my grandson was born with sickle cell, so it was very important for my granddaughter to be tested, because not only does she have not only does she have a great aunt and a great aunt, but she also has a sibling that has the disease. And I have sickle cell trait. My husband has sickle cell trait. My son has sickle cell trait. My daughter was fortunately born with nothing. She don't have the disease and she don't have the trait. And so, as I explained how genetics actually works, she finally went ahead and got the baby tested and found out that she has a trait. My whole thing to her is, what if the baby, you did not get her tested and found out that she has a disease? You could have potentially put her in a situation where she could have been sick and you didn't know what was wrong with her, because you have zero education about sickle cell. You don't want to listen to me, and you're not taking heed of a condition that could kill your child. So fortunately for my grandson, the way that the disease comes about, he didn't actually experience his first crisis, for I know he was older than a year, I want to say. So, like, through his infancy, to our knowledge, he never experienced a crisis. He didn't demonstrate any signs of actually having a crisis. He was uncomfortable, which could have been like a mini crisis, but he didn't wind up in the hospital with a full-blown crisis until, I want to say, he was close to 2 years old. I know he was older than 1, but he might have been close to 2 years old. And so he did really well. Even now, he'll have different situations that come up, and it causes quite a bit of discomfort, but his mom, I'm very grateful that his mother is a person who listens. She calls me, she texts me, she email me, she reaches out to me on Facebook, she contacts my sister-in-law. She is doing, and plus she's really, really involved in his healthcare, which you should be as a mom. But she goes the extra mile to make sure that she is 100% knowledgeable, as much as she can be, about the disease, so that she can look out for signs and symptoms of him potentially about to have a crisis. Because there is a way, you can't prevent a crisis, to my knowledge. I know they're doing some research and some studies, and there are some medications that work really well. But what she's trying to do is make sure that she is aware of the signs, so that she can be proactive in making sure that he's not uncomfortable, and he doesn't wind up in the hospital, because by the time they actually wind up in the hospital, it's really bad. So you can have a crisis and actually treat yourself at home with pain medication, and other things to help help to make you comfortable until you can move past the crisis. Sometimes the pain medication doesn't work, which is what she's dealing with. She tried to manage her pain at home, and eventually what happened was the pain just got too severe. She wound up the crisis actually wound up in her heart, and by the time you start having a crisis in your organs, you have to go to the hospital, because you can go into cardiac arrest, you can have kidney failure, you can have malfunctioning in your liver. There's all sorts of things that can happen to your organs, and sometimes if you let it go too long and you survive this crisis, as bad as it is, you may wind up doing damage to your organs. And so anyway, I just encourage you all to learn as much as you can about sickle cell, because when you're dealing with a child who has sickle cell, when you're dealing with other loved ones who have sickle cell, you could find yourself in a situation where, like, say for example, when he started going to school, the daycare that he was going to, um, the teachers, I think he's been very fortunate, because I know he was in one situation where the nurse knew about sickle cell, and so she knew about how to pay attention, and educate the teachers and stuff about potential, signs of him potentially having a crisis. Um, there's a situation where that she was in, that he was in, where the daycare workers, were aware, so they knew, how important it was to make sure all the kids washed their hands. If you had a child who came to, to the daycare or the school with a runny nose, to keep that child far away from him, because, people who have sickle cell, their immune system is also compromised. So you don't want that child or that adult to be exposed to people who have colds and the flu and pneumonia and, just cooties all the way around. You don't want them exposed to that, because, a simple cold to you or I can be pneumonia to them. It just depends on, what they're going through. So anyway, I just, I was talking to her, and I just started thinking about, what all she was going through. And so I thought I'd share that information with you, and to ask you to just go and learn a little bit about sickle cell. I believe we just came out of National Sickle Cell Month or something like that. I really should do better about making a note of, when they acknowledge patients or people who have sickle cell. I don't do so good, and that's not good of me, but um, so anyway, I just asked that. It's really coming down, y'all, so I think I'm gonna sit here for a second. So I just ask that you all just do a little research and learn a little bit about sickle cell. And if you know anybody who has sickle cell, or know anybody who has sickle cell trait, just let them know that you were there in case they need you. And I say people with the trait, because some people who have sickle cell trait, like myself and my husband, we have a percentage of the trait in our blood that's extremely high, and so does my mother. And so basically what that means is, while we do not have a crisis, we do have symptoms that try to mimic the onset of a crisis, which means that sometimes you have aches and pains in your body that can't be explained. And it's not just like maybe you worked out too hard, or you have arthritis or something like that. You do have just different situations that kind of come up, and it can be uncomfortable. I would not dare to compare it to someone who has sickle cell, because I've never experienced anything like that. I don't want to experience anything like that. I watched my grandson and my sister-in-law go through a crisis, and yes, my grandson has had a bad enough crisis that, like I said before, it landed him in the hospital. And this has been, my baby, I hate to see him suffer, but him is a big boy right now, and he handles it so well. A prime example of that is one time we went to see my mom in Arlington, and we surprised her by taking my grandson with us. And right before we was actually scheduled to leave, he started kind of laying around, and I was like, what's wrong? He was like, nothing. And he didn't want to let us know that he wasn't feeling good, because he was like, we going home? And I was like, yeah. He was like, okay. And so he was just kind of laying around, and then all of a sudden, he started kind of coughing a little bit. And I told my husband, I said, I think he must not be feeling good, because my grandson is very active. And so what happened was, right before we got to the car, he was laying on the sofa, and he had an accident. And I said, what's going on? And so he not urine, he had a BM. He literally had an accident on himself, and he was potty trained. So I asked him, I said, well, what's going on? He started saying, my stomach hurt. He instantly started complaining about his stomach hurt. And that's where the accident came from, because his stomach was hurting and he couldn't hold himself. So I also noticed that he started going like it hurt him to like take a deep breath, so his breathing was really shallow, and it just like he was straining to like take a deep breath. And so anyway, needless to say, by the time, I called his mom and I'm like, we're still in Arlington, but we're actually loading up the car. We'll be heading out. I got my eye on him. He's starting to act like maybe he, is having a crisis. At the time, he was getting over a cold, so he was fine. He just kind of still had like a little runny nose, but other than that, he was good. And I called and let her know we were gonna be heading out, and so she already knew that he was, by the time we got him to her, he would probably be in a full-blown crisis, but we were managing his pain with the medications that he was taking. So by the time we got there, she had a bath ran and everything, just the typical things that she knew to do to make him more comfortable, and gave him another dose of medicine and laid him down. And, by the next day he was fine. He didn't have to go to the hospital, but he did really well. So, sickle cell is hard. And especially for a child, I can't even imagine, because they can't really describe, even if they can actually hold a conversation with you. They don't have the knowledge and the experience with what they're dealing with to be able to communicate exactly what's going on. They can only tell you, oh, my tummy hurts, or, I use the bathroom with myself, or things like that. But they can't really verbalize, you know, what kind of pain it is on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad. They can't do that. So you have to really pay attention to what's going on with them, and try to figure out, how to help them manage the pain. So it looks like the rain done kind of died down quite a bit. I'm going to take advantage of that and try to get into the house so I'm not drenched. I did buy me, if anybody's interested, I bought me this strawberry lemonade Gatorade, and I'm going to show that to you. I've tried this before, and it is really, really good. I can't have soda, and so I don't really miss it. Every now and then, I be thinking, when I see people with a soda, I be thinking, I want a soda. But soda has a lot of sugar, it has a lot of sodium, and it's one of the reasons that one of the things that contributed to my weight gain. And so also, it's not good for your kidneys and things like, especially because I was a Coke drinker, and y'all know Coke will clean your battery, so your stove too. But anyway, so I don't really miss it. Every now and then I'll be like, ooh, I want a sip of that. But truth be told, because I'm a bariatric patient, I ain't got time for my stomach to be hurting because of drinking something that's carbonated. And I don't typically drink stuff that had this high in sugar, but I do love my orange juice. I will allow myself to have orange juice probably twice a month, maybe, if that much. I think it probably averages about twice a month, because I don't have it every month, and if I have it during that month, I don't necessarily have it twice a month. But I think by the time you average it out, it probably comes out to maybe once or twice a month. So, but anyway, that's the only thing. I used to be real hard and heavy on pineapple orange juice, because I love my pineapple orange juice. But another thing, I don't, because even though it's natural orange juice, is most of the time, unless you make it yourself, it's from concentrate, which is very, very high in sugar. And stuff that's like really, really sweet makes me sick. So I try to steer clear of things that make me feel bad. So anyway, I'm gonna get on in here. If I have anything else for you, I will holler back. Peace.